In his State of the State address last night, Governor Greg Abbott declared that
Texas is the most powerful economy in America.
This is Monday, February 3rd, 2025.
Texas Scorecard presents the day's first news for the Lone Star State, the Texas Minute, with your host, Michael Quinn Sullivan.
Welcome into Monday. Thanks for kicking off your week with the Texas Minute. Education spending has skyrocketed in the last decade, but academic achievement has declined. More on that in today's news. As U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials continue sweeping arrests of criminal illegal aliens throughout the country, the agency is utilizing the J.J. Pickle Federal Building in downtown Austin as a detainment center. Meanwhile, Mexico has reportedly almost finished preparations for a tent complex in Juarez across the border from El Paso. That tent complex is meant to serve as a temporary holding facility with a capacity of up to 2,500 deportees from the United States. Texas congressmen are supporting a measure that aims to abolish the U.S. Department of Education. The legislation was authored by U.S. Representative Thomas Massey, a Republican from Kentucky, and it's only one sentence long. Here it is, quote, "The Department of Education shall terminate December 31st, 2026. Among those Texans who have co-sponsored a previous iteration of this federal legislation are Republicans Chip Roy, Jody Arrington, and Keith Self. A new analysis comparing students' standardized test scores to education spending finds Texans are failing to get a quality return on their investment. Reading and math scores are steadily declining even as taxpayer-funded school spending increases. Last week, the National Center for Education Statistics released the 2024 scores from the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which is known as the nation's report card. In Texas, fourth grade reading scores dropped 2 points from 214 to 212 on a scale of 0 to 500. Only 28% of Texas fourth grade students scored as proficient or better in reading. Performance trends over time show the percentage of Texas fourth graders who read at or above a basic level was the same in 2024 as in 1992, yet during that same time, state spending on education has wildly increased. In a separate study, analysts have found that while education spending in Texas grew 48% from 2013 to 2024, fourth graders' reading scores fell through the decade and continue to decline even as spending is increased. The Texas Minute will be right back.
The Luke Macias Show is your access to what happens behind closed doors in Texas politics. Listen weekly to me, your host, Luke Macias, as I break down what is actually happening in conservative politics in the Lone Star State, a state that we all love and cherish. Listen weekly wherever you listen to podcasts. This show is a product of Texas Scorecard.
Using the warehouse of an Austin oil company as the backdrop for his State of the State address last night, Governor Greg Abbott outlined 7 emergency priorities for lawmakers to tackle immediately. During the first 60 days of a legislative session, lawmakers are barred from passing legislation except for those items the governor has designated as an emergency. Abbott's decision to deliver his address less than 3 weeks into the session reflects his apparent interest in seeing a faster pace than we've seen in past years. To no one's surprise, the governor named school choice among his top issues for lawmakers to address. School choice was Abbott's top priority back in 2023, but it was killed in the Texas House. That resulted in Abbott campaigning against GOP opponents in 2024, winnowing his opposition in the majority party. He's also calling for a $750 million boost in merit pay for government school teachers, but at the same time, the governor said he wants to see DEI and other leftist indoctrination programs removed from the schools.
Any educator who tells students that boys can be girls should be fired on the spot.
Meanwhile, Abbott is also prioritizing $10 billion in property tax relief to be taken from the state's $24 billion surplus. The governor wants legislation requiring judges to deny bail for violent offenders and to deny bail in cases involving capital murder or sexual offenses against children. Abbott's other priorities include funding water infrastructure and creating a cyber command focused on foreign cybersecurity threats. You can find the details of all the stories mentioned today and keep up with the latest news by visiting TexasScorecard.com. If you enjoy the Texas Minute, please give us a rating, and if you have time, leave a review. This is the easiest way to help us help others find the show. This edition was produced by Nick Shepard and was based on the original reporting of Will Biagini, Aaron Anderson, and Brandon Waltons. I look forward to seeing you out around the Lone Star State. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the first news of the day for the Lone Star State. This has been the Texas Minute with your host, Michael Quinn Sullivan.